Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Not doing anything.
it's not the camera, it's not, we turned on the camera for the owl, you have to change it over to the owl camera. You've got the selfie in here.
Lead security.
And it's Bennett.
Give you the owl camera and microphone as a choice there.
Sorry, you go right ahead.
To get unplugged, it was there.
So you're not connected to the owl is probably what, if you don't see.
No, it
it's
was
the
in
video.
there. It was gone, yeah.
That sounds like right now,
Yeah, it changed the, yeah, we're on.
I think we're gonna.
I know. That's.
Go ahead, turn the air conditioners on.
Yeah, once you get that one.
Well, maybe we should just turn the temperature up. For starters.
Why don't we turn it off and then
We
turn
got this many times
Got
that the owl doesn't work with the air conditioning.
Yeah.
Turn it on, yeah. The speakerphone's in other words. Yeah,
Got
this is known as the owl. You can see it's got
So we
the-
need it, hey Jim, so we need it off anyway.
Yes, that's
Got it.
right. So it's been on
Right.
full blast in the last hour and then we.
Cheryl over here.
I'm good. How about yourself?
Okay.
Keeping out of your way.
Do you want me over there?
Oh, I think that's good.
Good signing position here.
Yeah, you can get. And you can. So I think we are close.
Looking for paper. I know we had some papers up there.
Beginning.
Paper.
I can loan you a piece of paper here, Sue, here.
Yeah, you got, I just wanted to be able to take.
Sure, I'll
Thank
put it
you.
right there.
Okay, and then there's one more that you gotta sign, okay, oh, you did you sign both of them?
Yeah.
All right. You want to sit up here? Thank you, thank you.
Okay, I think we're ready.
And Ken, I just need you to sign. Penny, she's the lady
And
and
stop. Yeah.
Far right, at the end, she's new.
Here, I sent it to you, right?
Yes.
Well, that's on file.
Yeah, you're
I need
fine.
this one.
Yeah, that one.
Opportunity for progress.
So it looks like,
Everybody ready?
No, it's gone.
so I
It's
think.
recording right now.
Madam Executive Director, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm gonna get Janice in here.
Yeah, well, go
Okay.
ahead and get her in first.
So this is, that's it, right?
Yeah, you want to invite her?
Yeah, she'd be in the attendee. I
Oh,
think,
yep, sorry.
and she's probably a Zoom.
Yeah, that's the Zoom
Yeah.
user.
Zoom one, it says Zoom user. Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's her. We wanna allow her to talk and promote it to panelists.
So, Janet, we're bringing you in as a webinar panelist.
Good. She's up there.
Behind it, not play.
Anyone else there?
That's it. Everybody else is a guest in the room.
Janet, can you hear us loud and clear?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let's go.
All right. members of the audience,
Okay, I'll get it from you later.
we're ready to go. Welcome everybody to the monthly regular NHA board meeting and HRH LLC board meeting of the Needham Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. And I'm going to start by calling the roll. Reg Foster is here.
Jim Flanagan is here.
Janice Bennett's here.
The Bangler is here.
Amanda Berman is here.
And I declare that we have a quorum, and I also note for the record that we filed a public notice of the agenda and the time and date of this meeting with the clerk of the Needham County, Town of Needham on July 11th, 2025. And this is being conducted as a hybrid meeting as allowed by the extension to the open meeting law that was signed by Governor Healy on March 28th, 2025. I don't think I have any announcements from the chair. Is that right? I couldn't. No, good. So we will go to Linden Chambers and see Betson Cook, resident association input, and anybody else that wishes to speak. Who wants to go first? Ross Donald, president of the Linden Chambers Tenants Association. Welcome.
Thank you. Let's see, I don't know if you got the emails, but I'm filing an open meeting law complaint for being denied access to the last meeting. I don't care whether it's a technical problem or not. It's a technical problem that needs to be solved, you know, so in either case, if access is denied, it's denied. So that's my problem. That's my complaint. The issue needs to be resolved. I'm also developing a civil rights violation. And that'll be spelled out, you know, for things like denying, taking down.
Sorry, excuse me a second. Are you speaking for the residents? Are you doing a residence?
Yeah,
That's what the agenda is.
I'm speaking for the residents. I'm the president. I'm the only one that's allowed to speak for the residents.
No. I'm just saying,
Oh, I'm just
you,
saying.
neither one of your points was, you know, you were talking about yourself. So is there any residents? I want to call on residents associations first, and then if you have something additional as an additional as an
Okay,
individual.
yeah. Linden
You're
Chambers
welcome to say
Residents
something.
Association. I'll be preparing a report. It'll be a 1 year in August. That was the date that we got our approval or recognition. So I'll have a report on that. It's not a good one. We haven't even been able to fix the potholes. You know, you ought to be able to do that. We walk around, we look at it, nothing's come of it. It's the kind of thing when potholes are reported to the town, they respond in 48 hours and they fix it in 72 hours. That's a public pothole. So I don't know who to take it up with. If they're talking to the health department, see what they can do about it. But we need to demonstrate some capacity here, you know, to work together, to get some things done, and we're not doing the job. We're not doing the job. And you're not going to do it because the instructions are that you don't get involved with the day-to-day activities, right? So, you know, so that doesn't help. For Linden Chambers, we're out of compliance. We need an office. We need an office space. And at one point, the executive director said she's not obligated to provide an office. You know, I don't know whether she still believes that or not, but the rules and regulations do allow us upon request, and I've been making the request for a long time, and demonstration of a particularized need, and I can do that. The LTO shall provide, the housing authority shall provide an LTO with a reasonable amount of space suitable for use as an office. And so the last statement on that, and not the last statement, one of the earliest ones, was that the housing authority is not obligated to provide office space. It's right in here, you know, but this has happened before. And it's a repeating pattern where the housing authority misinterprets the law and just like, what do you do then? Or do I go get a lawyer? You know, no, we have a union that might be available for these. Well, okay, I'm done for the Linden Chambers.
Do you want to say anything about, as an individual, about
As an
your
individual,
civil rights complaint? or you would,
Civil rights complaint.
we have
I don't know
not,
whether-
we have not received the open meeting complaint, they should just send it out
Okay,
recently.
yeah, the open meeting law complaint, there's.
Okay, but we will look for
I
it,
just sent that out by email and it may not be
okay,
complete. I do have to present it to you.
right.
And then you have like,
Right.
what, 2 weeks to respond
Yeah.
or something like that.
So, anything else?
No. not
Great.
now.
I see we have a hand up with Kampala. Oh, no, yep. Kampala, your hand was up.
No, that come forward, that's
Well,
Sam's
it
son.
went down, it was up, and then I looked, it went down, so. Somebody, and who is Sam, if you could make them able to speak, Samsung SMA526U.
It
Who
is
are,
it is I, Helen.
oh, hi, Helen, go ahead.
I have a question and maybe,
One second, can you rename Samsung SMA526U?
I wish I knew how.
There it goes. Here, yeah, so that we don't confuse the person who's writing up the minutes here or anybody else who watches the video here.
I don't believe I know how to do that.
No, we can do it here on our end. So go ahead, Helen, go ahead.
Okay, real quick, first and foremost, I want to thank the maintenance folks for doing a really good job with getting people's air conditioners put in and so forth, and helping. I had assistance recently with my refrigerator, and it was taken care of by I believe Will. He's there now, but they were very efficient in responding and getting it taken care of for me. I'm very happy about that. I think sometimes they deserve a pat in the back when things are done right. And the other thing is, it's been a year for the LTO, and I want to know, along with my friend Jill and some others, where is the money, the funding that they received? What account is it in? Whose name is it in? And there seems to be a rift between the treasurer and the president, and there's no member at large that I see present at their meeting. And I'm not too sure if they even have an LTO. So I would really, it behooves me to say, well, where is this money? Who has it? And it's supposed to be in 2 names and very transparent to what's being done with the funds in the interest. I thought after 90 days, checks aren't any good. So when they're saying, well, I have the check, well, how long can you hold a check like that? I'm kind of ignorant on some of this stuff, but I do know as a past president that there has to be 2 names on the account, and it should be transparent to the residents. And if they spend a certain amount of money over a certain amount, they're supposed to get the vote from the residents, not just pamby spend it wherever you want. I believe I don't maybe have all the authority, but perhaps Cheryl would have the authority, I know, to track down what's being done with their funds, because they had to get their budget approved, right? So that's my question. And I don't know if anybody there can answer that at this point.
Anything else, Helen?
No, that's it.
Okay, so we'll basically send you back to attendee status here, and I want to collect all of our questions. I'll ask Cheryl to what you might want to respond to or able to respond to. But is there any other comment?
No, I think Cheryl's been very, very good about giving me good information, and I'm learning that in the future. Yes.
Just one
Yeah.
second. We can hear you here. You need to
She's
Hey.
all set, Reg.
Yeah.
We've muted her.
yeah, if you take her out of the web, she's a webinar
I see.
person, okay?
Take her, put her back in
Yeah,
attendee.
intended, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Sue, you
Okay,
got the
hi,
floor.
you may have another person wanting to ask something.
That's fine.
Anyway, I'm
She's
Sue
under
Bianciso.
She's in, yeah.
I live up here at Seabed's Way. Actually, my first request, actually, and it's something that I think might be important. I'm wondering if the commissioners would be willing to invite Josh Tarski our state representative to come to a meeting, maybe, after the summer. I think, because I'm pretty sure he wants to know what's going on, if, maybe he can't come, maybe his assistant could come. Just to sit in on, Needham Housing Authority meeting. And I have two questions. The open meeting law, when you have to have it hybrid. I've heard of some towns that have turned that down, that they say they don't have to be hybrid, that everybody has to be in person. Does you guys know anything about that?
I do, but anything else you want, I'll address both of your points. Is there anything else you want to bring up?
Yeah, just one other question. The video for today's meeting, when can we expect it to be up on YouTube?
Do you want me to answer that or whole question?
Yeah, go ahead and answer that and then we'll get,
Soon,
Yeah.
all right,
soon.
Yes,
okay. Anything else, Sue?
oh, soon, not,
All right,
soon, yes, okay,
great.
okay, thank you.
Any other public comment? Just to your two questions, I think that's not a bad idea about Josh Tarski. Our prior representative came every once in a while, Denise Garlick, and I think that's a great idea. I don't think having a staff member coming instead of him is quite the same, so, I think
Yeah,
we'll wait until he can fit it into his schedule. I actually want to just use this opportunity to give you a bigger answer to your question, which is even though he's brand new, he's been very proactive about supporting the Linden Chambers, Linden redevelopment project funding and the seabeds project and so forth. And he actually was instrumental in our being able to get a meeting with the Secretary of the Housing of the Executive Office of Housing and Community Livable Communities here. That just took place in the last couple of weeks. It was really very valuable in terms of like getting support and finding out more about unlocking the funding at the state level. So I just want to recognize him then, and we can thank him again when he comes. We'll work on that, okay? And then the second thing, your question about the open meeting one, I do have, and then I'll turn it over to Cheryl for the other questions, is yes, the town of Needham considered doing something like what you described. And but everybody sort of collectively across all the boards and commissions felt that having the hybrid format instead of requiring everybody to show up in person was much, one of the few things that came out of the COVID epidemic that was something that we should continue to do, that we, the town, that is. And we generally try to follow the town's policies on everything we can, unless there's some reason to be different. So we're doing the same thing.
I'm just wondering if it's mandatory for every town and city.
No, every town, does their own thing, and I think a town can, I don't have examples, can decide never to have any hybrid meetings, but that's not what the town of Needham decided.
All right, thank you.
And that way we can all attend meeting when we can't physically be present, or if we happen to be traveling or on vacation, we still can attend if we want to. So, over to you, Cheryl, in terms of the other questions.
So I will address Helen's question
Yeah.
about funds and a check.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. There have been no funds distributed to the LTO. That's a whole different process for which we will engage in when they're ready to have that conversation. That's it.
All right. Well, I want to go further than that for our new board members. So the two things that was raised by Mr. Donald was the pothole situation over and then Chambers. And I will say again, everybody is over there, and we were all over there last year. It feels like a year ago, but it was only last month. Absolutely, we need to do something about that. And we know the executive director and Greg, our maintenance chief, has that on the radar screen. It became that way because of funding constraints. It took and we had a similar situation here at Seabeds and Cook, our federally subsidized properties, and finally Cheryl heroically somehow got the money and everything else together. So we have a bowling alley out there at Seabeds and Cook, and so we hopefully can at least get some temporary patches in there. And by the way, just the same comment, they're not here today, but at the High Rock Estates, all those roads in and around High Rock Estates, those are all private ways actually owned by the housing authority. They're not maintained by the town. And those, if you drive up and down them, you'll see, are really, they have to be done over again from scratch, but they need some TLC as well. So we're definitely, it's on the radar screen. On the issue of the office or the Tenants Association, the Tenants Association has been offered office space at our office at Highland Avenue. And this issue has come up, meeting after meeting, and has not taken advantage of that opportunity. So that Mr. Donald is right that there's we want to be able to provide it. At least one member of the Tenants Association take the position that it must be done by vacating a unit at Chambers Street, which means one less person who otherwise been working their way up on the waiting list and maybe living in their car or their basement, somebody's, so forth. It means taking one of those out of use as a affordable housing unit. And board members before you and myself continuing and Cheryl are sort of uncomfortable doing that approach, but there is an open offer for office space. So I consider that issue. No, I'm not going to recognize you, Ross, because you bring it up over and over again.
Turned into
Excuse me, I'm not discussing it. I'm briefing the commissioner as what has happened in previous meetings here. Okay. So, I don't consider that something, that we need to follow up any further on here. Okay, great.
Rich, can I actually weigh in on that for Ross?
Yes.
I just want to tell Ross that the community rooms are available. You can schedule that room for your meetings when it's not in use for other things. I've been president of tenant associations for years, and we used my house to set up our agenda the week before the meeting. You can.
No, you may not.
So you
No.
get to make all kinds of
Yes,
points. which are wrong.
no.
She gets to
Ross,
come. She
Ross,
has said the
Ross,
residents
I'm gonna
commission
ask you
has
to,
said we don't
sorry,
deserve an office.
Ross, no, I'm sorry.
You're sorry, I'm sorry too.
I'm not recognizing you,
No,
and I know you're very passionate about bringing it up over and over
yeah,
again, but
that
no,
doesn't sound good. That's the kiss of death.
Ross,
I've heard
I'm
that
not having the
before.
discussion with you. I'm gonna
I
ask
know
you to
you're not.
leave.
You're never going to have a
Will you-
discussion
will you
because you
please-
won't allow her to
Will you
discuss
please
with us. We
stop
can't
talking?
meet.
Will you please stop talking, or please leave the meeting?
I'll be happy to stop talking.
Thank you. Okay, and.
I was just wanting to offer him another opportunity.
Janice,
Respond to the
no.
resident commissioner.
No, I'm not recognizing Janice either, but please. not-
Talk to you anytime, Janice. Give me a call.
No, Ross,
No.
you said
can't talk.
you said you would stop talking, and you did not do that.
I just can't help myself.
Okay, then would you please leave?
No, I'm gonna stay here and be quiet.
Thank you. All right, and on Janice, would you mind relabeling her as something other than Zoom user 345573 user?
Okay,
Um,
I'm sorry.
No worries.
Normally we do.
No, it's just, for people who don't know who she is necessarily, so, great. All right, let's go on. We have a pretty routine agenda today. Oh, you have another comment, so sorry, I didn't mean to. I didn't. Yeah,
That's why.
go ahead.
It's kind of a
Thank you.
scattershot approach, but I'll try to keep it limited. But there's been different things that I think I should have brought, life gets in the way sometimes. Should have gone to the executive director, and I think, on the RAB board, we did a policy to deal with people having wills and going into the apartments, and the administration is well aware and maintenance of the bug problem that came up in a deceased resident's apartment. And the building didn't realize where it was coming from. But it went on from May, couple of months, I think, that the three apartments were terribly infested. I was one of those, and is there a problem, Cheryl? No?
Continue.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah, do you have anything else you want to bring up, and then Cheryl will
Okay, what I
comment on
want to
that?
bring up is I don't know if it's been solved in the policy that those if someone's deceased, I know there's rules and they don't have a will, that you can't just waltz in. But has the administration come up with something with maintenance so they could, I think the bugs were originally in the refrigerator, it hadn't been cleaned.
Hmm.
So I'm just
Okay,
jogging around, that's a long time, and do you compensate people? It wasn't any resident that was infested,
Yeah.
but they were in the freezer, in the food. I'm speaking mostly for myself, but there's other people involved.
okay.
I'm bringing it to your attention.
Anything else? Do you have anything else you wish to bring up?
Yeah, it's scattershot, on the elections that come up and so forth, I think I spoke to the chairman and some previous board members. Anyways, it agreed to contact the League of Women Voters. They did come, and in the town I lived in before, in Framingham, I just know because I was in it, they were super active, and they did offer rides and all of that. I was the only member of Seabed's Way that came, the league, and one person here that's a member. I'm just bringing that to your attention because it's important now with funding
Mhm. Okay,
for the whole, the whole country, so. And I like to get it on Zoom in case someone's watching.
okay.
And the other thing in the here and now. I don't understand, and again, I could have called, but I have a family too, and I could have called Cheryl, I guess, or maintenance combo on the landscaping and so forth. I understand maintenance has a union. And I hear from different residents that have been here 20 years or so, that what I'm getting to is the landscaping, and it's not being done correctly. And are we gonna, as we go along with Cambridge or whoever's gonna do the landscaping, preserve some of the, I'll just say, indigenous plantings that went on here? I see them like the Rose of Sharon mowed down with a power chainsaw. So hydrangeas, used to be blooming, now 3 bloom. I'm just looking at a really important part of the property
Mhm.
to residents that planted things. I understand from Cheryl, it's common land.
Mhm.
And then I'll really get you on the plain old ordinary. Who's supposed to get hoses and stuff like that? Not to do the common ground or grass or use a ton of water, but like clean off our patios. I mean, the hoses are beat and we're paying for them and we're paying for the connections. And usually in this town or up at the center or, whatever the
Yeah,
complex.
you're a bit over your 3-minute.
I'm
If you're
sorry.
getting
Anyway.
finished there, yeah.
If Valenti's or whoever donates plant, it'd be nice to water them.
Yeah.
That's a,
Great.
it's a
So
compliment in disguise.
I'm going to ask Cheryl to comment on most of these, but I'll just do the one having to do with when we get to the renovation and modernization project a year from now.
Thank you.
And the answer is we will be having resident meetings in ahead of even starting the first start there. And remember to bring it up then, that comment. But yes, the intent is to preserve as much of the existing landscaping as possible, consistent with the renovations that need to be done. Now, we're not really doing, we're doing the inside of the buildings. We're replacing worn out sewer lines coming out of the buildings and so forth. So there'll be some, effect on the outside, but there is also a fairly big budget for restoring whatever gets affected. And so that we have a beautiful place to lead after the renovations are over. Yeah, it is. And then people come over to say that. And then the other thing I would just, you've heard me say this before, for all these sort of, day-to-day things, the other points I'm going to give a sure. Please don't wait for the board meeting to bring it up. Bring it up right away to Greg or Cheryl, or find a maintenance request or whatever, because it's really not an efficient way of doing things. But go ahead, Cheryl. Yeah, I know you do. So just maybe for everybody else, I'm saying this, okay?
No,
And Cheryl, do you, or
So just as a point of clarification, we don't have a deceased tenant policy.
Mhm.
The RAB board, that is not the charge of the RAB board to designate policy. We discuss things and I get advice from the RAB board. So just as a point of clarification, there's no deceased tenant policy.
So we don't need a will.
well, there was some talk about, in a few meetings ago about the tenants that died.
So they should
Yeah,
come to
yeah.
me and talk with me.
Okay, all
offline.
right. Anything else?
No.
Okay, great. All right, so anybody else in the public need to speak? Nope, that doesn't look like it. So let's go to agenda item A. Review and approve the NHA bill schedule and check warrant, and I'll make a motion that we approve it so that we can have any discussion.
I'll second that.
So any of the resident commissioners have any comments or questions about it? Okay, you can go. Hearing no further discussion, I will call for a roll call vote to approve it. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Penn votes aye.
Votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
And that passes unanimously. All right, our next item is the High Rock Homes LLC bill schedule and check warrant of $32,677.20. And I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. Reg Foster votes aye, approved.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Penn votes aye.
Jeff Flanagan votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
And that passes unanimously. We're now at the consent agenda where we have some minutes. I don't think we have all the minutes, but we have some of the minutes here and.
No, Reg, you and I talked
Yeah.
about that yesterday.
Right, no, I understand. And we also have various standard reports. So is there any comments or questions from the board members on that? Hearing none,
Mr. Chair,
I'm not recognizing you.
I think,
Ross?
may I?
No, you
Yeah,
may
you're in
not.
violation of your own rules and regulations.
Why?
Because as president of the LTO at a meeting here, I have the right to be heard on agenda items. As long as they're not a complaint or a grievance or something.
No,
like that.
that are relevant to the LTO.
No,
the
no,
discussion
relevant to
was
the common interest of the population.
what is the topic you'd like to address?
On the consent agenda, where are these minutes? Are they visible?
So they're not available. They did not make it into the packet
Oh,
and need to be approved at the next meeting. So thank you for that.
I just
Asking
want to
about it.
clarify.
That's okay. But thank you for asking to speak and saying what it is. That is the way we need to do things here, okay? Thanks.
I appreciate you saying that, and it's only your patience and forbearance that has given me enough room to be a better person.
Well, I don't know if I quite like that good, but thank you anyway. With that point of correction from Ross, we are going to move on. We don't approve anything except the minutes. We do need to approve when there are minutes here. So, Executive Director's report. Over to you, Cheryl.
Thank you. We are continuing to work on the admissions and continued occupancy policy. We're incorporating the HOTMA changes to that policy. As you know, HOTMA has rolled out its implementation as of July 1st with 2 of its 14 regulations in place. Residents have received a notice about what that is, which is the definitions of unearned income. I'm sorry, definitions of income exclusion. To my notes, so sorry. De minimis errors and new definitions, and those are being implemented in our ACOP now. We are scheduling meetings. We're going to schedule a meeting with residents to talk about those changes. I'm sorry, just grabbing my notes. Yep. Okay, so yeah. So there was an initial letter that went out on July 1st to residents about about HOTMA, what it is and what the changes are that are in effect as of July 1st. And it's really just an initial letter so that residents are aware that these changes are coming. I received one phone call from a resident about what the changes are, what the letter means. She had some very comprehensive and very good questions for which I was able to respond to her over the phone. We will schedule a meeting with residents starting the end of July to just have them come in and ask questions about HOTMA as we roll it out. Currently, it's really it's very simple. Right now, the changes are minimal, so residents don't necessarily recognize an impact on their annual recertification processes. Income exclusions, as I mentioned, is a new thing with HOTMA. There's a list of 24 income exclusions. Definitions have been changed, so we need to include the new definitions as it relates to income and employment and de minimis errors. We need to have a policy in place for de minimis errors that outline how the housing authority will handle errors that come up in calculating rent, if it's our error or if it's a tenant error. So that's a policy that we are working on. It's very simple, just to say if the housing authority's fault, we won't charge the tenant. If it's the tenant's fault, what we will do with that. But as I said, I am we'll schedule meetings starting the end of July, just to have them in the community rooms to talk to our federal public housing residents about what HOTMA is and what's happening now. Congress is still working with HUD in terms of the other 12 sections that have to be implemented, and we will get that notice in the form of a public housing notice, which will instruct public housing agencies on how to roll out those changes to that legislation. I imagine that when it happens, it's going to happen all at once. So I think the more we talk about it with residents, the more they're familiar with it. It will change a lot of, a lot of reporting, not so much reporting, but how the Housing Authority reports to HUD. So currently, everything that we do, we enter it into an accounting module called the PHA web, and then we transmit it to HUD. So then HUD knows what we're doing. They know who has completed their annual recertification, who has not. They based on that information that we submit via our 50058 form, they are aware of how we are, they're aware of where we are at in the compliance process. So it's actually changing. That's going to be a more cloud-based communication. It's going from PIC to HIP. And so we will be able to translate or communicate to HUD in real time where we are in the processes of our annual recertifications, leasing, et cetera. So it does put major overhaul, I think, but the overall goal is to reduce the burden, not only for residents, but for PHAs. So more to come on that. And I plan to just talk briefly about it at our meeting so that you are aware of this impact to the agency. So that's our report. And then the last one in my director's report is the update on the Housing Authority website, which is going to be a big overhaul. Again, wanting to make the website more user-friendly for our residents and for the public to go in and look at it and be able to navigate through it easy. And currently, I'm not thrilled with it. And I absolutely do want to make some changes to it. I've spoken with, or my public housing, state public housing manager, Blair Betzer, has reached out to Narrow and talked about their product. And Blair actually wasn't very thrilled about the product. She thought it was pretty minimal, very basic, and we need more. So she is in contact with the executive director of Narrow, and who is reaching out to their engineers to see if they can do more. She thinks they may be able to offer us an a la carte package where we can add to the current package. More to come on that. Blair will meet again with Donna on Tuesday next week. We've also spoke with Keith LaFace, who does a lot of work for the town, Needham Observer and various groups in town. And he's reached out to us, but he's not available right now. In the summer, he's not available for the month of July, so I will reach back out to him to see when is a good time to talk with him. I'm also exploring options with another IT company. I've met with him on several occasions. He's very good. And he's anxious to work with us. So I'm going to reach out to him again. And I really like him. I think what I may do is have him, introduce him to the board virtually and talk about his company and that kind of thing before I make a final decision on he being our IT solutions company. I've reached out to other people who have not gotten back to me, whom I really would like to work with. But it's not an easy thing to encumber. So, but we need more sophisticated IT solutions than what we have now. And I need a company that I can have confidence in that will provide that for us. And I think that's this company. They are called Team Logic. And the gentleman's name is Rob Mungovan, Mungovan. And again, it's Team Logic, Logic with IT at the end. So more to come on that.
Any questions or
Uh,
comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, just a point of clarification or from my own understanding. Cheryl, you mentioned, I mean, on the agenda, it says NHA website update, but then you talk about IT support. Can you help me? Are we looking to overhaul our website, or are we looking for more consistent ongoing IT support, or both?
Both. Yeah, and thank you for that.
Okay.
Yes, we're looking for both.
And presumably two different entities.
Presumably, I mean, Team Logic, I spoke with him. He and I have met on several, couple of occasions, and he does have a company that he uses to provide website support for. So I don't know what that looks like. I haven't delved into it beyond just the IT solutions piece with him. I did speak to another company called Civics Plus. And I've also talked to other people that use them, and I haven't gotten good feedback on them. Civics Plus.
Okay, anything else? Yes, Amanda.
Another question, about that. Is this a scenario where we have to go out to bid to bring on a company like this? Or does it not require chapter 30?
So let me, I've been meeting with Amanda periodically to kind of bring her up to speed on things, and maybe we could defer that answer to that, because it's not a simple answer, but there is a simple answer that it has lots of bandwidth and buts. So if it's under $10,000, there's procedures. If it's 10 to 20, $50,000, then you have to do something more. And if it's over $50,000, but there's exceptions for certain kinds of professional services, doesn't cover this, et cetera. So we can, cover that. Or Cheryl is our certified chief procurement officer as well, and maybe she can also do that. Although do a better job than me, probably, or always don't want to add anything more to your never ending to-do list. Or
we're still pretty preliminary in terms of cost, Amanda.
so
trying to keep
I'm
it
just
down.
saying the
Yeah.
framework of the answer to her question. I think we have to put it out to bid and what applies to us. Yeah.
Got it.
Anything else though? Okay, great. Status update, search for the new NHA fee account. And for reasons I'm going to explain under E4, only the goal had been to have a very workable, robust first draft from me, based on work that Jim was kind enough to do a month ago. And then reality intervened in the form of E4, and we'll report on E4 in a minute, a few minutes. But the good news, I guess, is twofold, which is I have a meeting scheduled with Amanda on Monday as our new treasurer, and come hell or high water, she's volunteered to take it forward from here, and I'm going to make sure I can hand it over to her at least that morning, if not earlier this weekend. It's close. I've read all the I've read 3 other RFPs for the similar services, and we've got the work that we did earlier. I've got Cheryl's input, and the next thing would be to hand the task off to Amanda as our treasurer to get that over the finish line. But another major piece of input is from our executive director. She hasn't had a chance to weigh in yet and wants to make sure everything's in there. So we're inching forward, not quite on the schedule that we want to, but I think close enough so we'll be able to get to an RFP or the abbreviated process that we're going to do in lieu of putting out an RFP before our next meeting. So stay tuned. Any questions? No. Okay. So status update, agenda item E, of the Preservation Redevelopment Initiative in its various forms. We have no announcement yet from from HLC about their winter 2025 round, which is, I'm told by others, is later than they've ever not had an announcement. And nobody, it's locked up tighter than a bank vault, and nobody knows quite why this is. But we're not expecting to be approved. And, with our not so new partners, AHC and Peabody, we're already sort of regrouping. We know we're not going to be in the mini round. That's the other thing. They've already started the mini round that they were going to do. We were not invited into it. So we're now refocusing on November 2025, which is when the preliminary applications are due for the winter 2026 round. So that's where the status is here. And I've already mentioned that Representative Tarski was just terrific in getting us a meeting with the secretary, which is part of where, part of our knowing for sure that we're not, we're sort of in line, but we got to wait our turn here.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just to confirm what you said, so, we've been cautious about this first round, but kind of optimistic that we might be part of the mini round, and now we know we're not.
We weren't optimistic about that either. Because up until a couple months ago, we didn't even know if there was going to be a mini round. So, and we don't know why we weren't invited into it, because we don't have any response yet, formal response, debrief of why, our guess collectively is that there's that linkage with the seabed modernization project that frees up the 41 units, Faircloth units that are essential for the Linden project. And since we haven't started that project, which frees up the units, that just gave them an excuse to say, it's not going to be ripe enough to be considered for the mini round. So now that then means, that's a worry for the November deadline for next year's round. And so we're spending a lot of, thought energy brainstorming, trying to make sure that that doesn't ding us for this November. So
if we don't hear something positive, we're kind of a reset.
It's already reset. We all, never expected to necessarily win the first time or even be in the mini round. So we're sort of focusing and, wait as we wait for the other feedback we get and the one thing we know from past history is it's not a good thing that we don't have all of our subsidy units lined up and ready to go. So try to figure out how to fix that problem.
Thank you for all that information and work behind it.
Yeah. So we're on to Seabed Way Preservation and Modernization. The board approved issuing the notice to proceed, and that in fact letter did go out. And then we had our first kickoff meeting yesterday. Was it yesterday?
It was
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
So yeah, time.
So many meetings this week.
We had the kickoff
so
one,
many
which
meetings.
was really terrific. And so Ben Wilson, who was the senior architect partner that has been overseeing this whole project since the beginning, was there, and also our former senior architect project leader, who unfortunately has been assigned to another project and can't come back. But we met the new person that was going to be in charge. It has a very good reputation. We went in all the things you have to go over to kind of get it started up again, including the overall preliminary look at what the schedule looks like. And basically the bottom line is the team is going to be reassembled and up and running and fully productive by the end of this month. So going in August, they've stood down since last September and scattered off to do bunches of other things. We're getting a new MEP subcontractor to replace NV5 basically full speed ahead to construction documents, at least 25% level here. So Cheryl's made some progress on the budget, getting the CFP funds for 2024 in, and that administrative is done. We're waiting for the 2025 process to begin.
It's starting.
And is starting, and so nothing to particularly report there.
Do we want to add about the resident meetings that?
Oh, yes, good point. So, and we're in the process of scheduling 2 resident meetings now that we're going again.
Yeah.
And, we do that sort of thing anyway, but it's also required as part of the RAD repositioning process. So, and commissioners are welcome to come to that meeting if you would like to. I think the residents enjoy doing that. There will be 2 of them that will be scheduled, focused on just seabeds. All our residents meetings before have been seabeds and Cook, but so this is a relatively smaller, more focused thing that we will be going forward to. Did I forget anything else?
No, that's
Okay. Now we get to the administrative, which is basically been dominated by our many-month process of trying to audit the entire preservation and redevelopment project back to day one in mid-2021. By audit, I meant Cheryl and I have been chipping away at this for several months to track down and make sure we have on file every single invoice for expenses that in all the various different projects, that they've been matched up with checks that have paid those expenses. These are 8 different separate funding sources, so it's not an easy process to do that. And then every one of those expenses that are eligible, which most of them are eligible for being covered by one of our 8 grant funding sources, have in fact been submitted for reimbursement, and then finally, if we submitted them and that we're approved for reimbursement, that we've actually received the reimbursement, because we actually came across one yesterday that we think was approved 2 years ago, but we're not, just not sure we got. I'm not going to name the source, but we're not sure that they followed up and got us the check for reimbursement here. So it's all in one gigantic spreadsheet model that integrates about 6 or different systems that we have to use for our federal and state and et cetera, et cetera. And
What's the order of magnitude of all the funds?
so we're talking about millions that's being reconciled.
Wow.
Yeah. And thank you for saying that, because I think you know what I'm talking about better than most people who are happy to share more detail on what we're doing. And if you have some suggestions, that's great. The other reason for doing this is there's a deadline of today from the state to get in all the fiscal year 2025 services and third-party expenses that are eligible for reimbursement to go up against our $1.25 million ARPA grant that Representative Garlick got us 2 or 3 years ago. Thank you very much, Denise. And they have been pretty firm about saying, if you don't make this deadline, we're not going to consider it. Instead of reimbursing it, even if it's eligible. And that means dealing with not only making sure this audit is complete, we haven't overlooked anything, but also there are certain one of our service providers that aren't necessarily very prompt about submitting their June, in particular, their June and second quarter invoices to us. So chasing those and so forth. June actually around now, mid-July, not unreasonable to expect something ordinarily from, but even one firm, one of our legal advisors, we discovered we didn't have their due invoice yet, and we need to, Cheryl needs to get it in tomorrow.
Everything's in.
And I was gonna wait, you just don't, we would, I'm setting you up for the punchline here, so I just wanted you to feel really sorry for us this week here, so. And then, the other thing that happened, by the way, I should say, you know, with the state ARPA funding sources, we have differences of opinion of what they should be paying and when, you know, and not. So that includes submitting and they misunderstanding and resubmitting. So there's a whole bunch of things that were been resubmitted 3 times to ARPA, you know, that we gave up trying to get them to pay, but are covered by the town CPA funding grant for Linden Cambridge redevelopment. That's a grant of 1.386 million pre-development funds, and we've had a handshake agreement with the town that we will try to hit up the ARPA funds first, and keep our, you know, town money sort of as the follow-up money or sort of our safety net money and so forth. So to the maximum extent that we can do that to, you know, we think, oh, if we resubmit it again with some correction, they're going to do it at ARPA, then that will work. And like I said, there was like 6 of them that were resubmitted 3 times. Earlier this week, we just said we have to give up on that, and then we need to turn around and repackage it and get it to the town, because that money is more evergreen. It's not limited by fiscal year. It's not that the ARPA grants funding source is limited. In other words, we still can spend it all through the end of fiscal 26, and then I think it's over. So we've had it from 23 to 20 or 24 to 26, but the Department of Revenue will not allow HLC or any other state agency to submit, you know, if we find an invoice from 2 years ago that didn't get paid properly, they won't take it, they won't accept it unless we, you know, change the invoice, which, you know, ethically and obviously that's not a good idea to do. So, so getting that all straightened out and figured out and so forth is the dog ate my homework story on why the NHA fee accountant RFP is not done. But we did. The other thing that happened is we had another TCHOC meeting on Monday, and we submitted 6 invoices that they decided they were absolutely willing to pay, but we didn't. They didn't have enough detail to double check that things were proper, and they deferred them for resubmission, more justification next month. So it was about $300,000 worth of invoices. Now, again, just to remind I'm speaking really to the new commissioners here. One of our challenges as a public housing authority is we don't have a lot of working capital, you know, completely unspoken for working, you know, we have a lot of cash, but we can't use, you know, various buckets of those cash that are sort of there that are, you know, tagged with as federal or state or High Rock Homes. Can't use that, can't touch that, even temporarily here. So the total amount of working capital we have to manage these millions of dollars is about $600,000. So then again, particularly when we have something like the town of Needham, whose procedures are, they will not reimburse any grant reimbursement requests unless it's been paid, the invoice has been paid in advance of them receiving it for reimbursement. That, again, cash flow challenges, and whereas like the ARPA grant doesn't require that. And most of the other funding sources don't require that either. So, but you know, the town of Needham is a big, you know, big supporter of the project and a big part of the, you know, funding. But unfortunately, they need everything to be not unfortunate. It's just their way of doing it and making extra sure the money is taken care of. Not criticizing it, but it does make it very hard. And so then I was gonna ask Cheryl, so, yeah, we even had some invoices, those missing invoices come up yesterday afternoon and so forth, and how we doing getting everything into ARPA?
Everything is in. I stayed late until everything was in. Called my family to walk me to the car in the dark. But
You're a
they're all
baby,
entered.
Cheryl. You are a baby.
So they're all entered. I checked on them this morning and they are in DHCD review 1, which is great. That means someone is looking at them. They've checked off that everything is aligned. And so now they can go to DHCD 2 review.
Hmm.
So I would imagine they're making sure that the date for submission is correct, you know, they're looking at the invoice, et
They look at
cetera.
the backup and
So all of that stuff is in there, yeah. So that's
so
good
knock
news.
on wood, you know, that.
I didn't want to wait till today in case, you know,
Yeah.
technology,
Well,
anything
that's the
could go
problem,
wrong.
you know, it goes,
Yeah.
system goes down and, you know,
Yeah.
something like that, or what happens with the state systems, of course. Is every other public housing authority that got ARPA money is all trying to get their last, you know, things in today, and the whole system grinds to a halt or gets very slow, so, you know.
Yeah.
It sounds like both of you have seen this movie before or heard about this movie here, so. And so that leaves, the final kind of push, which is, we also have pretty good visibility what's left
Mhm.
that needs to go to the town TCHOC. The next meeting is on August
11th, yeah, 11th,
11th. Yeah.
right,
But the deadline for getting that in is next Friday.
that's correct.
So we kind of set all that side aside and
Yeah.
file and do our best to meet the requirements of the town. And part of the requirements, the problem with meeting the requirements is the level of detail that we have with expenses, you know, 2 years ago that were not submitted or were rejected by ARPA and then have been resubmitted to town. But the level of detail that comes in with those invoices is not what they're looking for, or what they're accustomed to receiving from the point of view of good fiscal management on the town. Now, you know, you can't go back and redo. It would have been great to know that 2 years ago, you know, as it was coming in, but we didn't know that. And so trying to help them get comfortable with the reimbursement requests that we need them to see is, you know, a bit of a custom challenge for each one of these invoices. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, that was very well said, sir. Thank you very
So any
much.
questions from the commissioners?
We can
Comments?
Are we getting the level of detail we need going forward from our providers? So that we're on.
So it's already sort of over at this point, you know, because the 1.386 is getting close to being spent up. I mean, we had, you know, pre-development is sort of over for the Linden Street project. There's another $5.5 million ahead for actually constructing, you know, and so obviously we'll get a head start with our new partners who will be dealing with the TCHOC, not me and Cheryl. And we will do that when the time comes. Over on the seabed side is pretty much the same story. The $242,000 is pretty much spent up because we're you know, we're going forward with the CD construction documents phase.
Yeah.
But the town only ever paid 21.5% of everything in the first place. Because of limitations from the CPA. In other words, only a portion of what we're doing by way of modernization is eligible for CPA funding support. And we agreed a couple 3 years ago to just top down say that's 21.5%. The other reason the CVES isn't as complicated is because, first of all, it's a less complicated project than a redevelopment project. So that's like a whole order of magnitude less complication. All right, there, you're not doing environmental reports, and there's a whole bunch of things you don't have to do if you're just basically gut renovating, replacing kitchens and bathrooms and so forth. And the second reason it's less complicated is the vendors that are supporting us are principally BH&A. The biggest bills we get are the architectural bills. And they provide a very clean, understandable percent of completion invoice against a fixed price contract we have with them, as opposed to what we were doing a couple year or 2 or 3 ago, was much more time and materials. And that's when you know, just getting timesheets from the town's point of view isn't enough. And, you know, I understand that point of view here, so. Other questions or comments? All right, well.
Thank you for all the work.
2 feet, 2 feet forward and 1 feet back on, hopefully on most of the good days here, so. I think we're on agenda item F, status update, internal initiatives.
Yes, and so not necessarily anything for me to report on, but just for your review of these fabulous resident service coordinator reports. Absolutely. I am so grateful to the work that they do of providing really good resources for our residents. So we're very, very fortunate to have this team on board. They're great. In addition to this, now this isn't new business or anything, Mr. Chair, but I did want to note that in your informational items, you have a community room harmony guidelines. And so our resident service coordinator, Lori Blake, would like you to consider at your next board meeting, voting that as a policy so that it's enforceable. This guideline was her thoughtful draft on how to manage programs in the community rooms. And I agree, it's a good way to try to control some of the interruptions that occur at some of the programming, where it, to Lori's disappointment, it discourages residents from attending the programming. And there's a lot of thoughtful programming that takes place, and we want our residents to continue to be able to have that. I thought we could just use it as a way for them to police themselves, but Lori has thought that it would be best to have the board consider it as a policy. So,
Okay.
and then I did tell her the process usually comes first to the board for review. And then at the following meeting or subsequent meeting, then the board would consider voting and approving it. So that's all I wanted to add.
Questions about the reports that we got from anybody? Yes, go ahead, Mary.
Can you just remind me the kind of staffing structure that makes up resident services?
Sure. So we have a resident service coordinator who her funding.
Her name is
Lori Blake, thank you, sir. And the funding for her position comes from both the state, a huge part of it comes from the state, I'd say maybe, I don't want to say the percentage. And then a smaller percentage comes from HUD. So she provides.
But she's an FTE, right? She's one full-time employee.
She's a part-time resident service coordinator. She works 30 hours a week. And she provides direct services to our residents for across the board, mental health, et cetera. And she also provides programming. She develops programming for our residents in our community rooms. She's very thoughtful, very kind and good. She and I meet twice a week to talk about what's going on in the communities and what's happening with our residents. And then we have 2 grant-funded resident service coordinators. These are federal funded programs from HUD. One is the Resident Opportunity Self-Sufficiency. We have a service coordinator for that program. And then we have Family Self-Sufficiency. And then we have a phenomenal, they're both phenomenal, all of them are phenomenal. But I'm excited about the Family Self-Sufficiency Program because it's a program that helps residents to build assets and to reduce their reliance on government subsidy. And the coordinator provides a great deal of resources to our residents on financial management, utility bills. She just gives them so much information. She's reached out to Harvard University, their law school. They're providing our residents with information for which we're going to pass on to our resident service, our Ross coordinator, to help with some of the estate planning that residents are interested in. So it's the family self-sufficiency, that's sort of my baby, because I really like us to also be able to offer affordable home ownership opportunities for residents as a result of their escrowing.
Right.
We have about 24 residents that are escrowing, and you can see that those amounts in your packet. So it's a good amount of money. Some people are escrowing $1,000 a month. I can't save $1,000 a month. So it's a really great program, and so far it's still in place. HUD hasn't clawed that back, which is great. And as I said, Elena does a phenomenal job providing educational, job, resume, financial resources to residents. So we're really, really fortunate that these women are committed to providing and getting great resources to share with our residents. I'm excited about it. I'm glad that they give us this quarterly report. I tell them that it's important for the board to have this information. And they do a good job putting it together.
So with that much, I want to make sure we get names and recognition too. So Lori Blake.
Yes,
right?
thank you,
Ross.
Jim. Sorry. Yes, Lori Blake is our resident service
Yeah.
coordinator, and she's funded by both the state and the federal government. And then Ross is Malika Brown. She is our grant funded, HUD grant funded Ross coordinator. And Elena Choi is our family self-sufficiency coordinator. She is funded by HUD as well. Her position is funded by HUD as well. And her position is all salary, and we get a great sizable grant for that program. And then the Ross is a 3-year program. We're in year 2 of that program now, and it does have a budget for training and salary and supplies, that kind of thing.
Sheriff, thanks for all that hard work and result.
Thank you.
Let me
And
just,
yours.
let me just also suggest that you speak about what Springwell does with us, so we get the whole constellation of things here.
Great. So Springwell is our service provider.
Does everybody know Springwell as an organization or what they do in general from the state? Yes, I know. Yes, no. Okay, let's do the.
Yes.
Yes. So what is Springwell?
So Springwell, I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to talk about them as a service provider, but they do provide services for our residents in the form of medical support, housekeeping.
Let me interrupt you, sir, because I didn't mean this. This is a
That's
surprise
okay.
to you.
Mhm.
Let me just answer my own question here.
Mhm.
So it is, first of all, you can find them easily on the website. They are their website has a pretty good explanation what they are. But the answer to the question is they pretty much do what they're doing for us, but on a broad basis for all over the state. It's kind of state focused, and many years ago, Cheryl might know when, because I think it's before my time, but they actually wound up with contracts with DHCD, now HLC.
Yeah.
And where to do what Cheryl is about to tell you about what they do for us.
Yeah.
And they do that, they have just a whole panoply of similar services that
Right.
Cheryl's going to tell you about.
Right. And
So what do they do for us?
so they provide medical services, home health aid, support with activities of daily living. They are a great resource as well for our residents, meals, programming. the director, the CEO of Springwell, her first name is Patricia. I'm always blanking on her last name. She's very pleasant. We work with her staff, which is a coordinator of the program, and the person who puts out this newsletter that's included in your packet, Paulina. But it's a great program when residents come home from the hospital and need support. They provide that support to them. Residents that may need housekeeping support, they provide that.
They do wellness things,
They
right?
do a lot of wellness things, and they are really the state provider in that. I think they started out of the Council on Elder Affairs, which I don't think is in active organization anymore. But it's been taken on by DHCD and now EOHLC. So it just really helps residents, our elderly and disabled population, particularly our elderly, to age in place and provide them with the services they need to do that.
But for our state residents, subsidized.
No, they
so
do.
For everybody.
They
Okay.
provide it for our federal residents as well. Our federal residents have access to their services as well. It's an elderly, it's to provide services.
So
for the
not
elderly.
family oriented.
Not necessarily.
Okay, so I think we're sort of at the end of our agenda. Do you want to say something about public housing notice 2024-23 here?
Let me see. It's quick.
It's on page,
That's page.
last page, 97.
And so that one, oh yeah, that at our last meeting, or rather our April meeting, I talked about our formula funding that we get from the state for our capital projects. And this is something new that the state has implemented. It's an aging in place funding. It helps to replace outdated items in our small units to help our residents manage better. So as you can see on the list of the items that we can use that money for funding for. I mean, our units at Linden Chambers are not handicap accessible units. And so, this is really helpful to us to be able to provide that service across the board, but also to do it in an immediate way where we have some handicaps, some residents that have mobility issues, and we can be able to provide that service for them. This money has been fished. When I say fished, there's a number in our Cap Hub module that allows where this money has been appropriated. And we can start spending against it. So it's a really good thing, and it's going to help us because our budget was cut by the state for labor and materials and maintenance labor and contracts. So this is really going to help us as we turn over our units to update them with some of these new features.
And one of the sort of interesting things that I haven't even talked to Cheryl about myself, and it's not particularly on the agenda for the board to talk about tonight. So I'm just going to raise this as something maybe for next meeting.
Okay.
But if you look at page 97, you just go through those bullets. Those are sort of the standard way that all senior apartments are built today. That we're already designed that way for the Linden redevelopment phase 1A for the 40 units going to 72 units in phase 1B. This is just what you do, but not what you built in the 60s when they were originally built. So we get a certain amount of money, for everything. But if we spend it on doing some of this and the units are going to be torn down in the next couple of 3 years, that's kind of just sort of throwing it away. So there's sort of the question, and it's really an executive director question, not a board question, but something I think the board would be interested in hearing what you would recommend that says, maybe if it's one of the 40 units that's going to be torn down in a year or 2 or 3, maybe it doesn't get updated with, maybe you do the lever style handles, because that's very cheap to do, but you wouldn't like replace the toilets or replace the bathtubs with walk-in showers. That's just a question, you know, it really a judgment on the part of Greg and
Yeah.
Cheryl, and something that, on the other hand, that would have the benefit of having our relatively limited money still being provided under this can be more focused towards like Chambers Street, which we know is going to be, we're gonna have to live with for the next 5 or 10 years.
Exactly right. And that's my conversation with Greg now and our RCAT. RCAT is our regional capital advisory team. And so our focus is Chambers Street. And so the capital money that is coming, we're really focusing a lot of that on Chambers. We're mindful of what might need to be done in Linden in terms of the units that won't be turned, the phase 2 units. But our capital focus right now is Chambers.
But some of these things, like if you just look at it briefly, you know, like higher intensity light bulbs and, you know, they're so I just think when you and Greg have a chance to sort of think that all through as an informational report to the board,
Sure,
maybe next month you could
Yeah.
sort of say, this is what seems to make sense.
that's great.
And it also is a way of getting the word out to the residents and
Yeah.
anybody else who wants to help see ways on this sort of thing. So, okay, I think we're at the end of our agenda. If anybody has anything else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn from somebody.
Second.
I didn't make it, but okay.
Oh.
All right, I make the motion and Janice seconded it here. I have to call the roll one more time. Rich Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Bender votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
Great. I think we've just set a new record for 2025 for the shortest meeting. So I think some people would appreciate that. And why don't we end the webinar and turn off the recording?
I just want to give this to Cheryl.
Hang on a second while we.
I'm so
Because we can, so we can just get the meeting.
Yep.
Ended here, so.